Welcome back, Blue Collar Woodworkers. I am, of course, Mustache Mike. And this, my friends, is my corner of the workshop. Now, in this edition of the corner, we're going to consider the common types of wood that are available for scroll sawing, and the ways that you can make thin stock, and how to work with patterns, and a whole lot more. And being it's ratings week around here, I know our program director, Chip, is snooping around somewhere.
I heard that.
So, pull up a stump and enjoy. Now, on a scroll saw, you can cut just about any kind of wood. Hardwoods, softwoods, plywood, you can even cut plastic and metals. Now, we'll talk about plastics and metals in detail in another episode. So for right now, let's just center in on wood. Almost any kind of wood can be used. The softwoods, such as yellow pine and red pine, even though they're soft, they work quite well. Basswood is excellent. Keep in mind though, with the exception of basswood, when you get into softwoods of 3/8 of an inch or less, they can split out, and it's primarily due to the grain. These large growth rings can make them quite unstable when they're thin. Then of course we have the composites such as MDF, particle board, and OSB. Hardwoods are excellent with the tight grain, the tight growth rings, makes them very stable. They stain up very nicely. And then of course we have the plywoods, thick and thin, many different types. But the main thing is to buy a good premium plywood. There's nothing worse than a 2-inch sliver than having a knot hole edge with one of these plies missing. On many of the projects that you're going to cut on a scroll saw, it's going to require that you have a thin stock. Now, of course, you can buy thin stock. It's expensive, but you know that might mean that you'll have to pawn some of those fine wood jewelry pieces that you made for your wife. Nah, why not just make your own? You can make it in two ways. The first, take what you already have and resaw it. You can resaw on a bandsaw. A good fence is mighty handy though. Lower your blade guide as low as possible. Use a steady feed and a push block to complete the cut. Or resaw on your table saw. Always make sure you're using a zero clearance insert, a feather board, and a push stick. Remember, one Stumpy is more than enough around here.
Hey, watch that. He signs our checks.
Now, it's often quite a challenge to guide that little thin piece of wood between the saw blade and your rip fence. Why don't you watch this cool tip? Lower your blade so you cut just under half the width on both passes, and you'll leave just a thin little piece uncut, and that'll stabilize the board against the fence. You can later separate the two pieces and hand plane or sand off that thin connecting piece. Now, somehow, after you choose what you want to make, what material you're going to make it out of, you're going to have to transfer those images to the wood so that you got obviously some lines to follow. Now, believe me, unless you're one of those, I know, 1 in a trillion workers that can keep everything up here in his brain and you can freehand like Rembrandt, believe me, you're going to be like the rest of us. You're going to need a template of some kind. In my skewed opinion, I think that's a French woodworking term, means know-it-all. Believe me, the best way for most patterns is to use a glued on paper pattern. Okay, I'll concede. Some guys, they just love to cover the whole workpiece with blue painter's tape, and then they want to trace by hand or use some carbon paper to transfer the image. Then they have to cut, remove the tape, and it's quite a mess. Now that's cool by me. But one, that fancy blue tape, it's expensive, takes a whole lot more time. And you know, it won't always give you the definition and the detail that can come simply from a computer-generated image on a piece of paper glued to your material. It's as easy as this. Get yourself some spray adhesive, such as 3M number 77. Spray the back of the paper, moderately of course, and stick it to the wood. What, pray tell, if that paper pattern doesn't want to peel off that cut piece easily? Not a problem for Mustache Mike's fan. Apply a little heat, and quicker than you can say, "Hand me another spiral blade," it's off. Now, any excess glue on the wood can be removed with mineral spirits, or if you're one of those one product fits all kind of 70s guy, brake cleaner works great. Some guys, believe it or not, use a cardboard box to lay their patterns in and then spray them. You know what Chip would say? Yuck. Now I made a really cool stand to do this on. Well, we're all ready to start cutting, but Chip informs me that we're out of time. So, you're just going to have to come back and view the next installment of Mustache Mike's Corner, when we'll learn how to do some cuts on a scroll saw. Straight, curve cuts, sharp, around the corner, spin cuts, inside cuts, outside cuts. I'm excited already, and a whole lot more. We'll even have some practice sheets that you can download for free. So always remember this: you can trust Mustache Mike, because friends, I would never pull your stash.